Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Father.
You know how certain TV shows or commercials just stick in your head, the jingle? Well, the lifestyle of the rich and famous jingle sticks in my head because when I was younger, my mom always watched that show just to see the ostentatious houses and lifestyles that people would build. More for my generation, MTV Cribs, right? Also sticks out in my head. These shows that highlights ostentatiously, absolutely, but these vast structures that people will build with their money. Or if you've been to Europe, you can see in your mind's eye these giant buildings, sadly, much of which have become more like museums nowadays, but these giant, beautiful buildings to glorify God. These temples, these churches, filled with amazing arts and amazing statues. Cool stuff, right? And today's feast day is along those lines. Today's feast day is St. John Lateran. If you know from trivia last night, because it was one of the questions, hope you all got it, St. John Lateran is the mother church of Rome, the cathedral church. It's not St. Peter's Basilica, it's St. John Lateran. And highlighting this feast today highlights the Catholic Church, the temple of God for all of us. That's why I'm in white and not green on this ordinary day. And so our readings follow along this line of temple. That's what I want to talk about today, temples. Temples in the sense of giving God our best. Giving God our best, okay? So, time out for a second. Take Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous or MTV Cribs. Remove religion for a moment. Why do they do all of that stuff with their money? Because with their money, these people who have vast amounts want the best. The best houses, the best cars, the best service, places with 5,000 bathrooms and bedrooms, and Taco Bell was in one of them, right? Or a bowling alley. It's because they want the best. Now again, intention matters there, but just the act itself of building something amazing because you want the best. Now, fold in religion, our faith. The people of Europe, people of this country, you go down to Detroit, beautiful churches in Detroit. They want the best. Building those churches, the Italians, Holy Family, or rather Holy Name, the Polish, St. Joseph's, St. Joseph's, the Germans, right? Sweetest Heart of Mary, Old St. Mary's. They would work during the day. They were all tradesmen. And then they'd come home, and they wouldn't sit down and watch TV or be with their family. They'd go out and construct the churches. Because they wanted to spend everything they had, do their best for God. So the question is for us today on this feast day of our church, the actual building of our church. Today, for us here at Sees here. It's why we do all this beautiful stuff, right? Because we want to give the best to God. The question, are you giving God your best? Are you giving God your best effort? Not just for an hour, or maybe today, hour 15, right? Who knows? Oh, uh-oh. It's snowing outside. You don't want to go out there, right? It's nice and warm in here. For the time you're here, yes, absolutely. But are you giving God your best effort always? And that's not to say you'll be successful. Probably not a lot of the time. You won't be successful. but are you trying your best to spend your money wisely, to serve the poor, to practice the corporal works of mercy, the spiritual works of mercy, to serve the community you belong to try to build this physical church and this physical community up, not for ourselves, but for God, to glorify God, to glorify God. If it's not to glorify God, then go out and build a mansion and have a Taco Bell and a McDonald's. I'll come over for double cheeseburgers. They're my favorite, right? But do it for God. The first reading today, Ezekiel, he's very harsh on the temple because in those days, the temple for him was very corrupt, very corrupt. It was huge and rich, but the people, the priests, worship false gods. And so Ezekiel prophesied that the temple is going to be destroyed and then rebuilt. And he says, when the temple is rebuilt, when it's reconstituted, water will flow out of the east side of the temple. And this water will flow into the lands, and it will become so deep, it will encompass everything. And then from the water and the new land that's been purified by it will come trees and bushes and fruits. And these trees and bushes and fruit will be medicine for the surrounding nations. Medicine for the surrounding nations. That's what he prophesied. Water flowing out of the side. And then Jesus, in our gospel, goes in to purify the temple today with the whip of cords. Right? Cast out the money changers. Cast out the people worshiping mammon, false gods, to rebuild the temple. In fact, he said, I will rebuild this temple. But now he moves the central act of worship from the temple, which didn't have the ark. The ark was lost. Do you remember that? He moved the central act of worship away from the temple to himself. And the temple he rebuilt, we know, was his body. And what happened on Calvary when he died? Remember? When the soldiers lanced his side, what flew out of his side? Water and blood. Water flowing out. Fulfillment of the prophecy. And then from that comes grace. Grace so deep, so amazing, that anybody who approaches it will be healed, have new life, converted. That's why Jesus says, the last words of the Gospel of Matthew, go out and baptize all the nations. The temple, his body, is meant to go out to do all of this. And then St. Paul, in the second reading, says, now that has been done, now you are the temple of God. You are the temple. But what has to happen first? We have to receive Jesus. And that's why we have physical buildings. So we can all come to a physical place, receive Jesus, the source of life. And then you, as a little mini temple, can go out to all the worlds, be that water flowing out of God's side to baptize the nations, to heal people, to enrich people, to support the poor, to help them, to help people get over their sicknesses and illnesses and depression and despair, to be the people of God. So, again, I ask, are we doing our best? Are we doing our best? Or are we like whitewashed walls? You know? Greenfield Village, who's been there before? Awesome. Who remembers the chapel, the church at Greenfield Village? Anybody remember it? It's a nice space, but you look in, if you can picture it, it's whitewashed. Completely whitewashed. It's barren. Contrast that with St. John Lateran, or St. Peter's Basilica, or Sweetest Heart of Mary, or Old St. Mary's, or our church. I think we have a pretty beautiful church, right? That's the difference. You can look one way on the outside, but how you doing inside? Inside is what matters. So, on this feast day of St. John Lateran, the Mother Church, our temple, may all of us who are little mini temples in participation always give God our best in worship and in service. Amen? Amen. Amen.